Each week on Culinary Confidential, Christina Cates, a seasoned foodie who has worked at some of New York City's top restaurants, will share her passion for the culinary world. Whether you're a professional chef, a restaurant enthusiast, or a lover of good food, Christina dives into the heart of hospitality, exploring the trends, triumphs, and challenges facing the food service profession. And you won't want to miss her chats with some of the most interesting and influential industry voices. And now, please take your seat at the table as Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates starts now, exclusively on AM 970, The Answer.
Welcome to Culinary Confidential, where I explore the stories, flavors, and people behind what we eat and drink. I'm your host, Christina Cates, and tonight we're kicking off a show that highlights the compatibility of sports and food. As always, this show is produced in association with my dear friend, Lucas A. Ferrara and Shake It Off Productions. It's November, and we're in the thick of football season. Now, sure, football is all about touchdowns, rivalries, and team spirit, but let's be honest, it's also about the food. From smoky barbecue and loaded nachos to wings, chili, and that perfect tailgate spread, food is what brings the fans together, win or lose. Let me tell you about my incredible guests I have on the show tonight. As you know, I only bring to you the best of the best. I have my friend, classically trained chef, Joey Fortunato on the show. He owned Extra Virgin in the West Village for over 20 years. He brings so much experience to the table and was one of the early guests I had on Culinary Confidential when the show first launched, about this time last year. At the time, he told me he was waiting for his new restaurant to finish being built in Midtown because he was going to be the executive chef there. That restaurant is called the Splendid, and it is finally open and is located on 52nd and 5th. I recently dined there for brunch, and it was fantastic. I was curious to check it out because after Joey owned and operated Extra Virgin for so long, I wanted to see what Joey had up his sleeve for his next venture. The Splendid is part of Stout Hospitality Group. If you're in New York, and even if you're not, you've watched a game at Stout at some point in your life. It's just a rite of passage for sports fans. So Chef Joey said, let me see if the owner of the Splendid and Stout Hospitality Group, Martin Whelan, wants to come on the show. I said, hell yeah, bring him on. So he did. Martin is a born and raised New Yorker through and through, like Chef Joey. It all started with Maggie's Place, the oldest family-run restaurant and bar in Midtown Manhattan, founded by Martin's parents, Teddy and Maggie, in 1974. Maggie's Place is celebrating 50 years in the same location without owning the building. That's unheard of in this day and age. This place is a New York institution and the kind of place we need to support and protect because they're a dying breed in this city. Martin took over Maggie's Place in the 90s after his mother passed away and his father moved back to Ireland. After opening a few more establishments, Martin and his partners opened the first Stout New York City on 33rd Street across from Madison Square Garden. This would eventually lead to Stout New York City Hospitality Group getting some legs, which in addition to Maggie's Place, currently operates 4 Stout locations, 2 Amity Hall spots, the Half Pint, the Independent, the Long Room, the Wolf, Ernie's, the Lodge Bar in Bryant Park's Bank of America Winter Village, and Rivercrest in Astoria, and I think there's a couple more. Of course, the newest location, the Splendid, which opened this year. The Splendid is more of an elevated concept from some of the other brands in their portfolio. It is beautifully designed and the menu is carefully curated. We'll dive more into that shortly. Important to mention that Martin is also a board member of the New York City Hospitality Alliance and the 34th Street Partnership. So grab your jersey, your appetite, and maybe a cold one because tonight we're diving into the delicious world where sports meets flavor. As much of the audience knows, I know Chef Joey for close to 15 years now, but Martin, I'm just meeting you for the first time tonight.
How are you?
I'm well, and I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. I did do some homework on you. And it seems that you were in marketing, and then your first restaurant venture was opening a deli in Queens in 1987 at just 25 years old, and then a pizzeria on the same block. Why did you pivot careers?
There was a market crash, and I saw the corporate ladder being taken out from underneath me, and I just wanted to work for myself.
You were going to make your own opportunities for you.
I'm going to make my own opportunities.
But you had hospitality in your blood.
Yes, my parents came to this country in 1958, and my father started as a shoe salesman at B. Altman's, and my mother she was actually a hand model, too, for Elizabeth Darden, but she worked at Elizabeth Darden outside of the hand model. And then they both got into the business.
And they wanted to live the American dream.
They wanted to live the American dream.
And they sure did. Now, they opened up Maggie's Place in 1974, as I mentioned in the intro. But when your mother passed away, your father decided to move back to Ireland. And then you came into the picture. Was there any doubt that you were going to be the heir and take over Maggie's Place?
It was never discussed.
Never?
No. I had my deli, and then I opened a pizzeria, both in Sunnyside, Queens. And, I was going along working very hard. I never knew what my next step was going to be. But when my mother passed away, and I was working crazy hours at the deli, I went to my dad. I said, "What are you going to do?" And he's like, "Well, the lease is up." He goes, "If you want it, you got to go renegotiate the lease." So
the lease for Maggie's Place, where it is now, it was up at one point, and you renegotiated it.
I renegotiated the lease and got a new 10-year lease. Took my life savings. I put it into the business. This is a very unique story in that we did not close to do renovations, and we did some very major. Well, not major, but cosmetically, yes, and changing the kitchen and changing where the bar is upstairs. Back then, 47th and Madison, very business district, not a lot of weekend business. Still, on that side of Fifth Avenue, outside of the Christmas season, it's not a busy area on weekends. But back then, we were closed Saturday and Sunday, so I paid the contractors to work Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, that's
They
smart.
also worked nights during the week. Back then, everybody wore a suit, and your 3 martini lunches was a thing. My servers would be brushing sawdust off suit jackets as people left lunch and went back to work.
I love these stories. And you know what I find so true, and all the people that I've had on the show, the element of risk that any successful entrepreneur takes.
Yeah, I think if I was older, I don't know if I would have done it that way. I was young and reckless.
But you have to be.
But I don't think I think people came and like, what is this guy doing? I look at this in retrospect. What is this guy doing, renovating a restaurant without closing it? I don't know if the Department of Health would let me get away with that today.
I mean, the rules for everything are a little bit different now.
Yes. So, and then I remember the night we were changing the storefront. We just had plastic draped over the storefront. So I slept with a baseball bat in the bar on a banquette in the back.
I love this story.
Yeah.
Now, you're in the same space that you were since 1974. So how do you get to stay in the same venue for 50 years without owning the building?
Well, my landlord owns the building. He's a good landlord. He's a very good landlord. He's fair. But I do think it is unprecedented that somebody has been renting the same space in Midtown Manhattan for 50 years.
I mean, you hear about places that are in a place for 10 years in New York, and then they have to change location. Joey, can you talk a little bit about this? Because you were in Extra Virgin space for 20 years.
Right. I mean, it was great at first. And, when we went in, the rent was, doable. But then as the years went on, it went up and up and up. And then the West Village became, the super hot spot.
Hottest neighborhood in the city.
Right. So we went from, paying $7,500 a month to like $45,000 a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, but you started at $7,500?
Yeah, that was our initial rent,
That is
2004.
Crazy. That's one-bedroom apartments now in New York City.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Let alone a whole restaurant space. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
All right,
that's why I'm out.
I get it.
That's
No,
why
I
I'm
get
out
it.
right now.
But I do want to ask both of you, as hospitality business owners in New York City, how does your establishment stay relevant after so many years in the industry? Like, what's the key to success? Because people's preferences change. Like, you see now that even people are drinking less as a whole. The sober curious movement and more CBD type things are recreational available. Like for a place like Stout Hospitality Group, where a lot of your business drive is the drinking part, right, with the sports games and things like that, do you see it change at all over the years?
Yes. I mean, things definitely change. Maggie's Place, we did 200 lunches a day, and then now most people got fast casual and go back to their desk.
That's right.
And people don't drink during lunchtime, but that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
In this industry, we're famous for looking for reasons why business is not good. But the whole CBD thing and people drinking less, I think it's overinflated. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I think it's overinflated. The CBD thing, you're not going to meet somebody taking a gummy and sitting on your couch watching the game.
That's right.
You got to get out there. And the bar is still the best place, outside of online. But,
No, trust me. Online is not where it's
well,
at.
if you want to go organic, you come to a bar. I mean, I can't tell you how many of my friends met their significant others in a bar. And it's good. And, you take a gummy, you're stoned.
Yeah.
You're like stupid. You have a couple of beers, you get a little courage in you, and you can go up to somebody and say,
muscles.
"Hey, I'm, not drunk, but just a little courage."
But have you had to change your business plan at all in the last 30 years?
Yeah, I mean, the whole cocktail craze has been good for us,
cocktails.
and Stout's a sports bar. And I have a couple of other sports bars, but we lean into the cocktail craze. Mm-hmm. We lean into alcohol-free. We have mocktails. We have a great selection of alcohol-free beers. We're trying to find that good alcohol-free wine, but we have not found it yet.
I do have a good, it is alcohol-free, but it's a functional mushroom-based cocktail. I had this woman on the show, it had to be earlier this year, Little Saints. She's very popular. She was on Shark Tank, and I don't know, people are liking that kind of alternative option.
Oh, yeah.
To drinks.
Without a doubt. I mean, our sales aren't through the roof on mocktails and non-alcoholic beers, but it's an option. I mean, I went to Ireland recently, and Guinness Zero, which is here, but not on draft yet, they're actually building a separate brewery to make it right now.
Wow. It's so popular.
I asked a friend of mine over there. He's like, it tastes great. And, some people will drink one alcoholic Guinness and one non-alcoholic Guinness. Some people drink 3 alcoholic Guinnesses and then 3 non-alcoholic Guinnesses, or they'll do 3 non-alcoholic. So they all are drinking, they're going out, they're socializing. But they're not drinking as much alcohol as they used to, which I think is the perfect thing because you're still socializing. You're just not putting much alcohol in your system.
Can I jump in on the Guinness thing really quickly? And I just found out this recently that Maggie's was the first place in New York to have Guinness on tap.
You're kidding.
And I think that is something that should be out there all the time.
We are the last of the original Guinness accounts in New York City.
So I had Colin O'Connor from Guinness, the Guinness Storehouse from Dublin, Ireland, on the show for St. Patrick's Day. And were you here for that, Ryan? Were you on the show yet, or was it still Alex? It was still Alex.
That must have been Alex, yeah.
I
would have remembered.
He was so great. And just, talking about Guinness, I swear to God, I left here and I had a Guinness that day because he was so inspiring. But I do think we mentioned Maggie's place on that show, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, shout out to Colin because he's so special. What else are you serving on tap at Maggie's?
I think we have a couple of draft cocktails on tap now.
That's cool.
So I leaned into the craft beer.
Yeah.
So I was the first Brooklyn beer account in Midtown Manhattan.
There's so much history here. Guys, we have to protect Maggie's for as long as possible. We can never let this place leave New York.
I met them at a street fair, and I was just paying attention to the craft beer and when it was first starting out. And we leaned into it. We added taps, and now the tastes are changing again, and craft beer is struggling. It's still doing very well. I think it always will have a place. We like to carry local beers in our place. Okay, we have Stella. Stella's a very popular beer in New York. We have Guinness. But pretty much every one of our other taps are all New York State beers.
That's great. You got to support local.
Got to support local.
Absolutely. All right, how has your view of hospitality evolved as you moved from those early roles when you were operating on a smaller scale to now when you have close to 20 brands under your umbrella?
It hasn't changed. We're still in the hospitality business. And, it's the question of QR codes on the table, which we do because we want to give people that option. We still work very hard on giving good service, a smile, a hello when you walk in the door, a goodbye when you're leaving. Yeah. It's something we work very hard on, and it's difficult. You have to train people.
Yeah, training is important.
Intensive.
I do a show about training, I think.
Yes, it's very intensive, but that's never changed.
Hospitality, in my mind, it's so simple. It's just that simplicity of being grateful for people when they come in the door, catering to them what they need. They're essentially in your home for the 1, 2 to 3 hours of that night. And I see so many restaurants in New York and even all over the world, because I travel all over the world, they just don't do it right anymore. It's so transactional and business oriented, and it should be more personal because you're cooking a meal for somebody. You're giving someone a drink. Like the eye-to-eye connection is so important. And it's something I hope, in New York, we do better at it. I've been to Stout before. I think Stout's fantastic. I've always had a great time there. But there's a lot of places, some of these newer, trendier places where they lack in the hospitality. And it's more like the see and be seen place, but you're really not getting your bang for your buck anymore.
No. And I wish servers would realize that if you go an extra inch, not an extra mile, an extra inch, your tip will go up substantially.
That's right. When I was at the Palm, the servers would detail their station. So after pre-shift, before we open, they would maintain their station. And we would tell them, this is your office. This is where you're doing business, these 4 or 5 tables for the next 5 hours. Like, manicure it, make it look pristine, because this is where you're making your money, right here. There's no boardroom. There's no trading desk. This is where you're doing your business on this 4 top, this 6 top, this 10 top. So you have to change your mindset and look at it like that, but then you also have to have that softness of delivering that experience. For any young people interested in the hospitality business, what do you see as the biggest opportunity for entering the market in New York City? New York City, a melting pot of everything.
To get into this business where you own your own business?
Yeah.
That's so tough today.
Yeah.
It is so tough. And the government regulations have made it a lot tougher. I would say hitch your wagon to somebody like a Stout and work your butt off. And you've got to work your butt off.
Sweat equity is where it's at.
You got to show sweat equity. And I know there's a few other groups. And then you come up with an idea and you go to the owner, me in this case, and say, I've got this idea. Would you back it? And
but it's like the independents that don't really make it anymore, like the one-off restaurants.
Unless you have that customer, like say you're working in a bar, another bar, and you have a customer, a really good customer, and he's got a golden checkbook, and he's like, I'll back you, which happens. But otherwise, it's tough. Outside of being in a group, it's tough. It still happens. I see it happening. It's usually not one person. It's a group getting together, and then you have partners, and partners are tough. But it is still possible. It's harder in Midtown Manhattan. People are doing it in the boroughs. Brooklyn opened up a lot of opportunities, but it is tough.
Joey, any insight onto that question?
Yeah, it is really, tough nowadays. It's kind of like when we closed down Extra Virgin, everybody was just like, where are you going to open next? And I was just like, I'm just going to take it easy for a little while.
Yeah, you were grinding for 20 years.
And luckily I knew Martin, and Martin had said, we have this new place opening up called the Splendid. Maybe that would be a good fit for you. And we talked a few times. I met the whole team, and it wound up being a really, great opportunity for me. And I'm really happy to be with Stout Hospitality right now.
Right. All right, before we go to the break, just one last question. You started the Pint for a Pint program for the New York Blood Center.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
That was during the pandemic.
Because I thought that was very clever.
Yeah, so I live in Long Island City, and obviously the pandemic was very stressful for people in the restaurant industry.
Totally.
So I used to go for a run. The distribution center had since moved, but it was in Long Island City, and I used to run right by it. And I was like, my stores are empty, and I'm hearing on the news that there's a blood shortage because, all these blood drives just stopped.
Yeah.
So I called them, and I said, how'd you like to do blood drives in my bars? And they jumped on it. It gave me a sense of purpose. And I have relatives in Ireland, and my aunt told me, they used to give you a pint of Guinness or a half pint of Guinness when you gave blood because it had a lot of iron in it. So
or even after giving birth.
And yes, my grandmother drank a Guinness a day when she was pregnant with her 8 children.
Oh, my gosh.
But she never drank outside of being pregnant.
Oh, that's so funny.
So that pint for a pint came into my head because when you give blood, you give a pint of blood. And so outside of having the blood drives in the bars, we started, whenever you give a pint of blood, you can bring your voucher into any of our establishments and get a drink. A pint, but any drink. We're
very clever.
If you want a glass of red wine, you got to go get a glass of red wine. The New York Blood, they jumped on it. Every August they got a lot of bars to do it. So a lot of bars participate in August. They have a whole drive for it where they give you a coupon when you give the blood. But we do it all year long.
I think that's great.
And we've
doing great things,
we've collected in the bars because we're still doing this. We close on a Monday lunch, and we've collected thousands of pints.
Amazing. All right, let's head to our first commercial break. Stay tuned. You're listening to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates on AM 970 The Answer.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 1250 Broadway in New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Welcome back to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates on AM 970, The Answer.
Welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in, the theme for tonight's show is the compatibility of sports and food. And boy, do I have two great guests on the show for the hour. I brought back on tonight my good friend, Chef Joey Fortunato, who is now the executive chef of the Splendid on 52nd and 5th. Also joining the show is Martin Whelan of Stout Hospitality Group, the restaurant group that the Splendid is a part of. Welcome back, gentlemen.
Hey, how you doing?
Thank you.
We're great. All right. This segment, let's talk about the Splendid, right? This great new restaurant on 52nd and 5th in Midtown Manhattan. Sports are a big part of the Stout experience, as well as your other concepts. How do you blend that energy with great dining?
Well, blending it with great dining is easy when you hire a chef like Joey.
Like Chef Joey.
Sports is, everybody's into sports these days.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one that might not be.
Well, you think about the amount of women playing fantasy football
leagues.
That's
absolutely true.
And playing sports. So our sports bars do well, but we wanted to elevate the experience and see where we could go with that. And that's where the Splendid came from.
I went to the Splendid a couple weeks ago. And I followed it on social media, so I kind of had an idea what it would look like. But then when I got there, I couldn't stop looking around. I was like, this place is absolutely stunning. Every detail, the upstairs mezzanine where you have the private dining rooms, everything was so well thought out and curated. And then obviously, Chef Joey, the menu was very elevated compared to some of the other concepts, right? But that was purposeful. Like you wanted to do a more elevated concept with Stout. And why was that?
Well, again, because sports is popular. So let's take tonight. You have a client dinner. Mm-hmm. You want to bring somebody out for a nice dinner. And the Yankees are on. You have to make a choice.
Right. That's a great point.
And now you can go to the Splendid and you can watch the Yankees and you can have a delicious meal. I'm not knocking my other places. You can get a great burger, but it's a different vibe. And it leans heavily into the cocktail culture. I mean, I love to go watch my teams. What if I don't feel like having a beer?
Yeah, I'll give a good example of like the Splendid. A couple of friends of mine who are restaurant owners, my friend Stavros, who owns a restaurant on 44th Street, a Greek place.
Which one?
Kalari.
Okay.
And he came in with his son, and they're both huge sports fans. And the Yankees were playing, and the 49ers were playing, and his son is a big 49ers fan, and he's a huge Yankee fan. So, they came in, they ordered steaks, and they got a little caviar.
Nice.
And I went up and I sat with them for a little while. And then, Stavros said, Joey, this place is so great. Like, you can't go anywhere and have a beautiful steak like this and eat like this and still watch the game. And it was pretty busy that night, because of the Yankees. And it was a Thursday night, and it's, real super busy on a Thursday in the city anyway. Here are two restaurant guys that totally just wanted to have a really good meal, but then also watch the games. And then the Splendid was the perfect place for it.
Okay, so Chef Joey, let me ask you, when you were developing the menu at the Splendid, what were some non-negotiables? Like things you were like, we have to have this at this place.
Well, when I first met with them, the prototype was already set. Martin said, we want to have caviar on the menu. And I was like, whoa, this is great, so I could definitely work with that, So that was, that was a bar that I was at. So it was pretty much anything goes. And they said, whatever you want to serve, you could serve. And we want it to be kind of like elevated. Everything is elevated. So it's like, we're heavy on the shellfish and, the seafood towers and steaks. And that's kind of our big sellers right now at dinner. But it was, the menu, I just think it's like a great mix of some like old schools, like we do like chicken wings, but I do confit of chicken wings. So, we marinate the wings for
put a little twist on it.
Yeah, exactly. Like for 2 days, and then I braise them really slow in duck fat.
Ooh.
So that we braise them for like 2 hours, and then we go through the same process of like frying them up and then tossing them in the buffalo sauce. But most people are like, wow, these are really great. They're a little different. And they're like, why? And I'm like, I can't tell you that. But
can't give you all the secrets to the sauce.
But yeah, that's kind of like where we are. You know what I mean? And it's great because the bar area is really big, and that's where most of the sports screens are, and that's where people are watching most of the games. And then in the back area is like a beautiful dining room.
Yeah.
And then even like for lunch, we're really, really busy due to where we are. We're right on 52nd and 5th.
Bustling Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah. So when you come in for lunch, you don't even really notice that it's a sports club. You just come in, you have a great
Which was
lunch.
the appeal to me, honestly, because I'm not a sports person. I don't follow teams. Like, if I'm going to go to a place, it's because I want to socialize with who I'm going out with, and I want to eat the food. So, like, the Splendid for me was like a home run. I'm like, this place is exactly where I would go to watch a game if someone made me.
Right. But, I mean, most people are going there for the experience of like having like a great drink and a great meal, and then like also having the games on, especially on Sunday. We have like a great brunch. We have a great brunch menu. I have a lot of the dishes that I used to do at Extra Virgin, where we were considered one of the best brunches in New York City, and now I think the Splendid is one of the best brunches in New York City. And you can come and you can watch, not the Jets, but you could watch whatever your
anybody else,
whatever your favorite team is, and every game that you want to watch is on that day. If you come in and you just say, "Hey, can we watch the 49ers game?" We'll put it on for you, And also, you can have a great brunch as you're doing it.
That's great.
So it's a really fun place.
But also appeals to ladies shopping on Fifth Avenue if they want to stop in for lunch.
They need a little midday Bloody Mary, mimosa. I think, what did I get? No, I didn't get it. It was the morning. I went in the morning. We had a sparkling water. But I would get a margarita because I love margaritas. So, yeah, definitely. But do you think food has become as important as the game itself for fans today?
I really do. I mean, I think, like, going to any sporting event, food and drink is
even
the
in
main
stadiums.
thing.
It's like all the rage now.
When Citi Field opened up, I thought people were going there just to go to Shake Shack.
They probably were.
Food is important, not to everybody. I mean, your dive sports bars, there's a place for those. Sometimes you just feel like that.
That's right.
But sometimes you want something nicer, and that's what we're here for.
Where do you hope Stout New York City or the Stout Hospitality Group will be in 5 to 10 years? Now that you're branching out, doing some of these other concepts under your umbrella.
I hope it continues to grow, and we'll come up. We're still out there looking for leases. We love New York City. A lot of groups have ventured outside of New York City. New York City is like a drug to me.
I love that.
I was born and raised. It frustrates the hell out of me, but I can't give it up. So we have a couple of concepts in our pocket, and we'll continue to do what we're doing. And like the original Stout, which was a game changer for us. Obviously, it's the biggest bar in New York City.
Yep.
It's closing. We lost our lease. But
is this hot off the press?
No. It's just kind of common knowledge. We have a big landlord now, and they have big dollar signs in their eyes. So we're moving from 33rd to 35th Street between 7th and 8th.
But still in the same neighborhood.
We wanted to be close to the Garden because that's where the whole concept came from. There was nothing like the original Stout. It was...
They're going to miss you there, though.
They are going to miss me there. And, landlords don't know the business of running restaurants. They just see you packed, and they don't know the dollars and the margins and all of that stuff.
They should listen to this show because we talk about it all the time.
So we're very happy in the new space. It's a couple of weeks away, and we'll be there. We're not going anywhere.
Right.
And we'd like to open a few more Stouts in New York City. Because
you know what it is? For any landlords listening, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. So Stout's busy all the time. You have staying power. You have 20 brands under your umbrella. They're going to get someone else in who can maybe drive that place for a year, 2 years, 5 if they're lucky, and then they're going to be in the same position trying to fill that venue. Whereas if they just left you alone, you would have been there for the next 50 years.
I've never lost a place because business was bad.
There you have it.
I've had a lot of places. I've lost places because the price went a little too high.
Let's leave it right there. Let's go to our last commercial break. Stay tuned. You're listening to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates on AM 970 The Answer.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 1250 Broadway in New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Welcome back to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates on AM 970, The Answer.
Welcome back to Culinary Confidential. I'm your host, Christina Cates, and tonight we're diving into two of everyone's favorite pastimes, sports and food. Because let's face it, the best game days always come with something sizzling, something savory, and maybe even something unexpected. Joining again are two guests who know how to bring flavor and energy to both the table and the crowd. Martin Whelan, president of the Stout Hospitality Group, and Chef Joey Fortunato, executive chef of the Splendid. Welcome back to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hello again.
Okay, before we get into some cooking tips and tricks, I do want to talk about something we didn't touch on in the second segment. It's something I think is very exceptional about the both of you. You both are supporters of female leaders in the industry and have both partnered with strong women in your restaurant developments. Was that on purpose?
Yeah, it was actually. I have 4 sisters, so I was always I was always surrounded by women. My mother was the dean of St. John's. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I've always had strong women leaders in my life. So I really felt that was a good opportunity to have somebody. And I know that Martin as well. I found out that a lot of his restaurants, he has women that had worked there that he kind of brought in now as partners.
Yes, it wasn't on purpose.
It was an
I wasn't looking
a happy accident.
I wasn't looking for women leaders. I was looking for leaders.
Yeah.
So I didn't distinguish. Maggie's Place is the original. That is named after my mom. She worked side by side with my father, so they were partners.
Yeah.
That's my role model. So, my brother was my first partner, and then when we went to open Stout, Gail Klein and Noel Mooney, one was the GM of this great restaurant I had called St. Andrews, where we lost the lease. Gail was the GM, and Noel was the head bartender. And I said, guys, we need to expand. Do you want to be partners? Because they were the two best that I knew.
That's great.
So it wasn't like I choose them because they were women, or I didn't choose them because they were women. I choose them because they were doing a damn good job.
Because the cream rises to the top.
And so, I have male partners over the years. I've had plenty of female partners over the years. Who's hungry?
I love that. Who's hungry? All right, speaking of being hungry, let's talk cooking tips with Chef Joey. Do you have any tailgating recipes for games, things that are easy to transport from your home kitchen to the parking lot?
Yeah, tailgating is like a great thing, and it's only like an American thing, like for football especially. This is a non-traditional tailgating thing, but I remember when I was younger in high school, I went to my first Giants game with a group of guys that their parents had season tickets, and it was our main thing was we did a tray of lasagna, we had a tray of prosciutto, provolone, salami. So these were all my friends from Howard Beach, like Santo Fazio, Michael Ferraro, Michael Martigliano. So that's a different type of tailgating. It's a great thing to do as well, like doing a lasagna. Even now, last year I went to a Jets game with my friend Pat, and we were tailgating, and he's like, just bring something. And I brought a lasagna with me, and it wound up being the hit of the tailgate.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
I've only been to one tailgate in my life. I'm not a huge football person, but I did go to a Jets game, tailgated for 4 hours, and then fell asleep during the game because drank too much, I guess. I don't know.
That could have been
but they didn't have a very good
spread.
This was a long time
it's
ago.
It's the Jets we're talking about.
And I can say that because I was a Jet season ticket holder for 40, 50 years.
And you're not anymore?
I gave them up last year.
Because you were fed up.
It's tough to go to Jersey to see.
I'm going to pretend like I didn't hear that, Martin.
But anyway, some other great tailgating things, like, kind of traditional ones, like, chicken wings. Everybody
everyone does chicken wings.
That,
But you can get funky with the sauces.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I have a bunch of friends that, like, everybody does a wing every week, and it's you don't only have to tailgate at the game. You can go to friends' houses, and everybody brings a dish. So that's something that we've been doing for years, going to different friends' houses and wings, briskets.
Brisket. That's a good one.
Yeah, brisket is a great one. You know what I mean? Because you could just bake it. There was one recipe that I use, and actually this was a recipe from Martin's brother Mark that he had used at one of the restaurants that I had seen a long time ago, and it was just doing a pork butt braised in Coca-Cola. Believe it or not,
I've heard Coca-Cola is good when you're cooking meat
really
slow
is.
and low.
Then you put a good rub on it and then braise it for like 4 hours in like half Coca-Cola, half just water would be fine, and it comes out with this like super sweet and salty flavor that is really unbelievable.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What dishes or drinks do you think define the perfect game day menu?
There's so many different things, like tacos, for instance, is a really great one because, like, you could have so many different variations of tacos. So then, like, one person will be like, okay, I'll bring the the adobo chicken, or I'll bring the beef. Mm-hmm. So then, each person brings something. Somebody brings the tacos, and then you just kind of mix and match, and you have like all different cheeses. So, it's just, and that's a fun thing to do because then everybody gets, especially when you start having kids and kids are involved and they could kind of make their own tacos.
Yeah.
So that's like
it's
fun
a little
thing.
Interactive.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Another one that I love is Sloppy Joes.
Yeah.
Sloppy Joes you could make with either, ground beef, nowadays ground chicken, ground turkey, and you just put, tomato sauce, different flavorings in it. And again, you could just have all these different breads that you kind of serve with it.
That sounds delicious. All right, I do have another question for you, Martin. How do you capture the energy of a live stadium inside one of your venues? How do you do that? Just make it really loud?
It's funny. When we first opened Stout on 33rd Street, we were we have TVs all over the place. We were the first ones to hook up the DVD to the TV. And this is not sports. This was concerts. So the first concert at the Garden after we opened was a U2 show. And we slipped in a live U2 DVD. And the place just went wild. Some people actually thought it was a live feed. They'd like, can I have my check? They're on. I'm like, they're not on. They thought it was a live feed from Madison Square Garden. We're the official bar of St. John's University Athletics. I'll give you a good example. We just decked the place out in red. When the Rangers score a goal, we have a siren that goes off, and the whole crowd starts doing the goal chant. Go. We've become the place to go to, especially when the Knicks and the Rangers are but even the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants. And, the great thing about New York is the best place in the United States to live because people still come from all over the world and the United States.
That's exactly right.
Every team has a fan club in New York. And I could an arm's length list of different colleges and different pro sports teams in my different bars that come to watch. So they build their own excitement. Like Stout Grand Central has been the home for the Texas X's, Texas Longhorn fans for ages. And we actually cater to them. We find Texas specials that we put on the menu. We bring in Lone Star beer.
So you change it up a little bit.
We change it up. If college teams come to us to be their home base, we will put something on the menu exclusive to the region they're from.
I love that. All right. What's the most New York food and sports pairing you can think of?
Hot dog.
A hot dog. A hot dog at a baseball game?
Well, hot dogs are...
I mean, we don't have hot dogs at the Splendid right now, but I want to put pigs in a blanket. It's going to be on the next menu, but it's going to be an elevated.
You're going to do it with a twist.
It's going to be an elevated pigs in a blanket. But who doesn't go to a baseball game? And even you, not being a sports fan, the first thing I'm sure you would do is be like, let's get a hot dog. I mean, I
wouldn't eat a hot dog, but I would eat something else.
I still love a good Nathan's hot dog.
I've never been a hot dog person. You know what it is? Side note, I work with my family's business. We do commercial construction, and we would service the Thuman's plant in Carlstadt, New Jersey. So I remember being younger, walking through when they were making hot dogs and being like, what's in that? And they're just like, things.
Keep it a secret.
Keep it a secret.
It's like a dirty water dog. Everybody you see all the.
I like a pretzel. I love a pretzel with a nice dipping sauce. If you saw
where those street pretzels come from on the west side, you might not eat a street pretzel anymore.
All right, let's move to the ingredient of the week, shall we? The ingredient of the week may be an obvious one for this episode, but it's one you'll see even outside the cooler, and that's beer. I'm talking about beer as an ingredient. Beer isn't just sipping during the game. It's one of the most flavorful, versatile ingredients you can cook with. From marinades and batters to braises and breads, beer adds depth, richness, and a subtle malty sweetness that transforms everyday dishes into game day standouts. Think beer-battered onion rings or crispy fish tacos, where the carbonation makes the batter light and airy. Or a slow-cooked beer chili, where a dark stout or porter deepens the flavor and gives it that hearty, crowd-pleasing edge. Even cheese dips benefit from beer. It cuts through the richness and adds that perfect tangy bite you get in a classic beer cheese fondue. When cooking with beer, the type you choose really does matter. Light lagers keep things crisp for those batters and lighter meats. IPAs bring bitterness that pairs well with spicy wings and ribs. And the stouts and porters are perfect for stews, barbecue sauces, and even desserts like beer brownies and chocolate stout cake. We need a chocolate stout cake on the menu, right, guys? So whether you're tailgating, hosting a watch party, or just trying to level up your comfort food game, crack open a cold one and maybe pour a little into your pan, because this week's MVP ingredient proves beer isn't just for drinking, it's for cooking too. Thank you for listening to Culinary Confidential with Christina Cates, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. on AM 970 The Answer. Tune in next week. I'll be joined by Hugo Ortega and his partner Shelby Hain, and we're going to talk about the hospitality experience on luxury yacht charters. This is right up my alley. You may know Hugo from the popular series Below Deck on Bravo. He is the new bosun on season 12. He founded Super Yacht Sunday School, which is a mentorship training program oriented towards helping aspiring yacht crews break into the industry. His partner Shelby is a chief stew on luxury yachts. Together, we'll have a great conversation about the triumphs and challenges of exceptional service and very high standards in the marine industry. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time tonight. Please check out the Splendid, the new restaurant with Stout Hospitality Group. It's on 52nd and 5th. Go ask for Chef Joey Fortunato in the kitchen. And Martin, thank you again for your time
very
tonight.
welcome.
This was amazing.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks
for having us. Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Have a great night.
The preceding program is sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.